Hello, I'm here, another vlog. I missed a couple days. It's been a crazy travel situation, but I am here. We are back in the countryside, and what is there to report? I am tired. I think the one thing that I want to do is just really talk about compromise in relationships. So I am, the whole trend of like black cat golden retriever energy. I think I talked about it in one of my vlogs. Can't really remember, but I talk about it a lot on TikTok. If you follow me there, you know this. I like posted a little 2-minute video on it and about compromise. And so we've been here since last Saturday. It's Thursday. So what is that, like 5, 6 days already? Yeah. Um, and I told my partner, I'm like, okay, I just got my moon yesterday. And usually when I have my moon, I really just love to stay in my womb cave. I really honor that sacred time of connecting, reflecting, and going inwards and not talking to anybody. And usually when I'm out with other people, they notice my energy shift because I am not an extroverted person. I am not. I am an introverted extrovert, meaning the way that I get my energy is by being alone. That's probably why I love being a solopreneur, even though it does get lonely. And sometimes I complain about being lonely. I actually really thrive off of it. I can get lost in a challenge and a skill set that I'm doing. And I just love being able to figure it out. And if I want that, energy to connect with other people, I need to be alone in order to actually collaborate with other people and really just be on and like shiny and bright. And so when you put me in a situation where I haven't had the opportunity to just go inwards, like mind you, I don't have actual interactions or conversations with people unless I choose to, unless I have clients, unless I'm doing lives, unless like, and so I think that's why it kind of works of like being a content creator, because literally you're just talking to a screen and it's just one way and you're not getting actual reactions unless you're doing a live or you're doing some sort of, streaming where you are getting actual interaction from different people. And of course, doing it digitally versus in person is completely different. So that's why a lot of people always ask me, why don't you do more in-person events? And I tell them like, oh, it takes a lot out of me, but I know there's a much, there's a big need and desire for it. And so that's why I'm really pushing myself to do it when I go back to the States, of just doing more of those in-person events and just getting to talk to people, getting to know people, having that energy and all of that stuff. And so really being mindful of like energy hygiene. And so I would say for myself that one of the things that has been really difficult is balancing a relationship where you have black cat energy and they have golden retriever energy. People talk all the time about like having that's the perfect type of relationship you want to have. And that as a woman, it's better to be a black cat, meaning, the other person is kind of like more in love with you, or they just have that energy where they want to be around you. And there's this person on TikTok that goes around and they're like saying, here's a situation where this person was a black cat, whereas the golden retriever, the one was a golden retriever, and then she became the black cat, and the relationship lasts longer because ultimately what it is a reflection of polarity. It's like the masculine and the feminine principle, and that you need that polarity in order, or that duality in order to have the relationship work. And so for me, being a black cat, it's like, okay, my partner, he knows this, and so I like I guess during this time, like I realized it to the deeper level of how much I am a black cat, because when you think about a cat, you can't, as compared to a dog, right? You bring your dog everywhere, sniffs things, enjoys things, curious. But as a cat, you bring it in its little crate and it goes to all these different homes. You can't do that because a cat likes to sniff everything. It just stays in its home. Not that I don't travel, but that's just where its preferred security is. And so it's just really interesting realizing, oh, because we're living out of our suitcases, we're going to different homes, we're staying in different homes, and then we're starting to, to connect with people. And like me being an introvert, me talking to people just does not give me the energy. It like drains me. And so today I started, yesterday I started my moon. Today is like the full first day. And I told him, I was like, babe, I'm spent. Like I'm done. And then Carl was like, we're gonna have quiet time. We're gonna have silence time. Um, you know, it's perfect because in yoga training, you have silence, you have silence. And then also in, you know, you go on retreats, Vipassana, and you're like silent for 10 days. And so what I did was like the spiritual practice that I did was like I just listened to Japji, which is this long meditation, this long prayer that connects you to true, you know, your true self. And so just listening to that mantra, to, you know, it's in Gurmukh, it's the language in India, and it just made me feel grounded, feel calm. And usually when I'm on my moon, I'm pretty nauseous. So it's just like, okay, you know, and then it kind of ties into the theme of like honoring your wild heart. And so even though there's this aspect of honoring your wild heart, ultimately what it comes down to is the truth. And so being able to say and express my needs of like, okay, you know, I'm not feeling up for this interaction. I'm going to go retreat to the room. Um, and you know, we're at this place now where we learn this about each other, we learn this and we know this and learn this about each other. And then also the fact that because my cat was living with me for the past 7 months, my cat really, you know, taught my partner what it's actually like to have a cat as a pet, and that sometimes you can't force them to be pet, you can't force them to cuddle with you. They come to you when they are ready. And so you have to completely let go of attachment and just let them be, and, you know, um, be mesmerized by them and be in that, you know, of just like, of honoring them in a way. I don't know. That was, yeah. And so I've just been in this space of, okay, let's relax. Let's not do any more traveling for a little bit. And you know, just make sure that I'm taking care of my own needs of what does it mean to really listen to my body. And so it has been a couple of rough nights of sleep just because, you know, we stayed at his sister and her partner. They have a little like tiny home, which was so beautiful. I'm going to link it down here in the show notes of what the tiny home is. It's in the countryside of Denmark. It was beautiful. It was built by his sister's partner and really impressive. We cooked over the open fire, made waffles, made dinner, but it was also thundering. And so literally we're out in the open fields and we just feel this like massive thunder coming, and feeling like it was just, it rattled the whole home. So we didn't get that much sleep. And then the light was just like piercing in. But it was fine. It was fine. But I'm like, I'm noticing myself, noticing my body, and just knowing that type of security within myself that I need to make myself feel at home, to make myself feel comfortable, to make myself feel relaxed, to create some sort of routine for myself that makes me feel better, and really grounding into my spiritual practice that I know that actually makes me feel a lot better. And so, you know, when I think about the compromise that you have, and no one really talks about the compromise, especially when it comes to certain values. It's like when you first get in a relationship, you're just figuring out whether you like each other. And it's more of, you know, when you do hit it off, it's just really enjoying that honeymoon phase. But when it really comes down to testing your relationship and understanding each other and understanding each other's love languages and understanding what the other person needs, but not necessarily judging them for what they need. So, for example, like, you know, I can function on not a lot of sleep. My partner cannot. Like he needs, if he doesn't have a good night's sleep, like it's just not a good day. And so, you know, sometimes he'll need to sleep super early, or he just, you know, like I said, he doesn't function well, whereas I'm totally fine with not sleeping. And, you know, if I go off in the sense of like judging him for like things that his body can't do or that he's not capable of, or like him, you know, not that he's ever upset with me for being a cat. I mean, in the beginning of our relationship, he was just like, I don't freaking understand you. Like, so he used to call it turtle shelling. He used to think that like I was like a turtle and he needs to shake me and then I would come out. And it's like, no, you let me be alone. Let the cat be alone. And then when it's ready, it comes out and it comes, says hi, and it's ready to talk to you and converse. So we've definitely had to learn that in our relationship of just learning how to have our own language, and letting the other person be who they need to be without them being who we want them to be. And that's the type of compromise I'm talking about, where it's not necessarily codependent compromise, but it's more of like compromising from the sacrifice of, oh, I love this person. I know that doing this would make them feel better. So, for example, because I knew how I would be and just the type of energy levels that I need, and that comes from understanding myself and, you know, being able to voice it and doing it ahead of time. I, you know, I warned him, he knew. And so, you know, we just made it very important for me to be able to communicate and let him know what it is that I needed so that I wouldn't be bitch a snatch. And so that's just like, okay, you know, not having attitude of just because when I don't give from my own overflow, I heard about this in retreat. It's like giving from your actual cup versus your overflow. That's where you always want to give to other people your energy. And so you're constantly learning to replenish and retain your own energy and make sure that you're good so that you don't compromise yourself, right? That's when we get into this resentment and this resentful period of I'm compromising who I am and I don't like it. And I see that, you know, happen a lot in relationships where maybe they compromise who they are a little too much. And then that's when the resentment starts to kick in. And so being really mindful of where are you compromising and what type of energy are you compromising from? And on the flip side of that, it's like sometimes you need to understand that you're going to be doing things that you don't necessarily like. So even though I don't like, you know, socializing at this much at this level, um, I know it's important to my partner, right? Just as how he knows that yoga is very important to me. And so that's why he woke up at 4 a.m. with me to go to my sadhana practice to understand and see how I live, you know, the yogini way or like the kundalini way. And so it's like really thinking about what are the things that you're willing to compromise on, knowing that in relationships that um you know, when you compromise from a place where you compromise yourself, then it becomes a little codependent because you're losing a piece of you in order to make the person happy, right? But then ultimately at the end, it just causes so much resentment and then it just chips away at the relationship and the foundation. But really, it's like your choice. Sometimes we always forget that we actually have a choice in the matter of deciding what we get to compromise on, right? And it is hard because not everyone, you're not going to have 100% of your values lined up or matched up. And so that's where you really have to think about what are your non-negotiables, what are those things that you're not willing to compromise on that are hard no's for you. And so this is fine, right? Because I know for myself I have a spiritual practice. I know that when I'm giving too much, I know when I feel okay to give more, and be mature enough to voice it, but not resent the other person in a sense of like, you should read my moods, you should read my minds and take ownership of, you know, what we do. I think a lot of the times we fall into this trap that our partners should understand our every bit of like need and desire we have, and that if they do, somehow it makes them the better partner, a better partner to us, when in actuality that's just playing out the whole idea of, you know, wanting them to be your parent when they had to anticipate your needs. And that's why I hate it when they say that about a client, like you should anticipate the client's needs and that makes you a better, you know, I don't know, leader or biz dev person or like whatever, if you have like a service-based type of job. And so that's why it's, to me, it's like you have autonomy, you have sovereignty, you are empowered when you get to choose and use your voice and say something, knowing that it's not necessarily, you know, you being demanding, right? It's just you being able to take ownership of your actual experience. And, you know, when you come from that place of realizing like, oh, you know, I can actually control the experience that I'm having, whether it's like through the mindset, whether it's observing my mindset, um, or, you know, whether it's like listening to your body and taking that as like data and information to make a decision of like based off of what you are experiencing. And so it's been like, you know, I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about my partner. Again, in my last video, I was surprised at how, you know, different Copenhagen seems to me. I see a lot more diversity. I see a lot more international people. And I'm so sad because I missed a girlfriend. I had no idea that she was here. She and I have never met, but we always do podcast episodes together. Her name is Camille Minervo. Like, love chatting with her, but oh my God, if we actually like met her in person, I just like, would have squeezed her to death. But I'm so sad. I saw on TikTok she was here. I was like, girl, you in Denmark? And so, you know, it's a bummer that she's not here. I have like no idea why I mentioned that, but oh yeah. oh no, so I was telling her this is the third time I've been in Denmark, and I'm like warming up to the idea of, potentially living here. And she said, "What? Warming up? You didn't like it the first time?" Because she's in love with it. The lifestyle is just like amazing here. It's elevated. The quality of life is amazing. And, I just shared with her my experiences of like, oh yeah, to me, it just was very homogenous. And, granted, it was in 2021 where it was, the borders were slowly like they had just opened up. And so it makes sense that not many people were traveling at that stage. And so you just had a lot of, just a lot of homogeneity. And now I just see a lot of international people are smiling, like maybe it's because it's summer, I have no idea. And I just had a therapy session right now, and we talked about the difference, whereas before, I would totally diss it. And now I'm like, oh, I like it. And I was joking, telling my partner, let's buy property here and all that stuff. So it kind of reminds you that you never know, your perspectives do change. And usually when I change my perspective about something, it means that there's growth. It means it's a reflection of the change that I've made as myself as a person. And I know that's something that I really, really wanted to work on, because before, when I was younger, and now that I'm speaking about it, it's very much generational to like intergenerational, especially in Filipino culture. I was like looking on this Instagram post of how the colonialism, a lot of the Filipino actresses, they look white, they're half white, they're not full Filipino, or there's this sense of pride when someone says you don't look Filipino. And it just makes you not have pride in who you are, or at least that's how I felt, that I was full Filipino, or more pride that I didn't look full Filipino. And that's something that I'm not really proud of now, because now that I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I love rocking my natural hair color. Um, Natural hair, not yet, because my hair is so frizzy. It's like literally, it's like pubic hair if I don't straighten it, and it just takes forever to do. So that is one thing I will not compromise on. I will, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting. And so like that was just something that I had to work through. And it's funny because subconsciously sometimes you just choose partners that help you work through stuff that uh that's like your lesson, and so, of course, me choosing a Danish person in a very homogenous place, it's like, oh, okay. It's like all this, like subconscious trauma came back of like, oh, like feeling like I didn't fit in San Diego and all that stuff. And that's just like an old story, right? That's when our ego tells us like, oh, when it looks at separation or it thinks of that. And so that's why I really love applying this, the tantric philosophy, and just really seeing the divinity in everything, especially when you do see the polarity, when you do see the duality, that essentially it's just the same, just a different perspective, different viewpoint. And how can you unify those two dualities, and see that everything is divine? And so if I find myself in judgment of myself, of another, then how can I actually see, is this is a mirror for me of who I used to be, or what I currently need to work through. And so really being mindful, really being gentle with yourself, not having that inner judge, that inner cop, or anything like that. But it's been, overall pretty fun. I'm glad I get to know a different side of my partner. Glad I got to explore, places outside of Copenhagen. We still have a week left, or like more than a week left. But tomorrow is going to be a bit of a work day for me. So I found myself, we were at this hotel and I was doing TikTok videos. I was like, oh, I miss you're a true content creator when you just love like doing videos wherever the hell you are. And I just love reflecting, and I love sharing different tips and tricks that I do that I feel like could help other people. Because, and I was telling, my partner, we were having lunch, I said like, yeah, everything I teach is just, it's embodied. I don't teach something that I don't know. I teach something that I'm living. I teach them what I do on the day to day. Just all these different tools, tips, and tricks, and all that stuff. And so it's kind of like this initiation of, that I really like, of like, because you only get one facade of someone, only like one perspective of someone, and anybody can go online and say, oh, I do this, I do that. But like when you're in it, when you're in the day to day, when you're living it, and you're like, okay, what tools do I have? What tools do I use? Like a lot of clients ask me that, like, how do you do integration? Like the integration, what are you talking about? The integration is using the tools. That's the integration. And integrate, like that is like step number one of integration. And the integration is like when it fully becomes embodied, when you're not having to tell yourself what you need to do because it's just a habit, right? Just how you brush your teeth, just how you floss. Like that is the goal of like learning these spiritual practices, is like really learning to integrate into your daily life, but doing it in a way where it's actually sustainable. Where you don't get burnt out from doing it or thinking that you need to do this like really long practice or anything like that. But anyways, it was fun to connect. We'll do a vlog tomorrow. We're not traveling anywhere. We're staying in like one place for a while, for a couple of days. But yeah, perfect for me going into the womb cave and all that stuff. But anyways, hope these videos are entertaining. I don't know. Let me know. Shoot a comment, create a comment, make a comment, whatever. But I just wanted to hop in here and share what's going on. And also excited of, incorporating more Kundalini. Like I did mention, I listened to Japji. And so I'm just really excited about sharing these tools, obviously. And so, I put the Rebirth to Radiance program in here. So check that out if that is something that you are interested in, if you're dying to learn more about how to integrate those practices in your day-to-day to truly like help you feel like you're living a liberated life. Okay, see you all tomorrow. Bye.